Half Forgotten History is presented by State Farm. Getting great car or home insurance from State Farm at a surprisingly great rate? Well, that's just like talking to the biggest names in NFL history and hearing their untold stories. It's the real deal. So choose insurance that always brings its A game. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And about that time, I hear, here comes Chirpy Manning coming down. You know, he's like a little chihuahua nipping at your heels, right?
Hey everybody, Trey Wingo here. Welcome into another edition of Half Forgotten History. You know how this goes. We pour ourselves a nice glass of Maker's Mark and talk great stories with some of the greatest athletes to ever play. Except we couldn't find a great athlete for this episode, so we settled on an offensive lineman. Actually, a center. Our standards are so low. What are we doing? It's just my way of saying this next guest is one of my all-time favorite guys that I ever worked with, and he's really funny, and he has some great stories to tell us from being in the trenches all those years. One of the greatest beards in the history of the NFL, and I just mean the facial hair, none other than longtime center for the Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday. Delighted to be talking to my guy, none other than fake Mark Schlereth. Jeff Saturday is with us today. What's up, brother? How we doing?
Living the dream, brother. The fake stink, baby. You know it.
Cheers to you, my friend. It's been too long. So, I wanted to have you on because I think that in many ways, you epitomize what a lot of people dream about, because you were an undrafted kid out of North Carolina that somehow found his way onto a roster, ended up with Peyton Manning's hands under your butt for a long time, and then Aaron Rodgers, and played for a bunch of years and made it to some Super Bowls and really had an unbelievable career. Did you ever think when you were trying to walk on as an undrafted kid out of Carolina that this career would unfold the way it did?
Absolutely not, man. I tell people all the time, it is much better than I deserve. I mean, you put it together as well as it can be put together. I mean, I go from honestly, praying to God that I'd play for a year as a kickoff team / eighth guy on the O-line.
Wedge buster.
Yeah, just trying to hold on for dear life to, like you said, man, playing in Super Bowls, Pro Bowls with what I consider the greatest quarterback of all time, being Manning, and then finishing it off with Aaron Rodgers, who just continues to impress. So, man, it was unbelievable, a heck of a ride, and one that I don't ever look back and doubt I'm a blessed man.
Take me through how you wormed your way onto the team, right? Because first of all, people should find pictures of Saturday when he was a rookie. The beard was not there. I mean, the difference with you and the beard is almost the difference in Justin Herbert and his haircut, right? You look totally different without the beard. So how nervous were you going into that first camp thinking, man, I just got to find a way to get on the team?
Oh my gosh. All right. So I'll tell you, so I even get a tryout because my roommate in college, Nate Hobgood-Chittick, who has since passed, was with the New York Giants on the practice squad. And the Colts bring him up in 1998, and they put him on the active squad. So you have to be, if you go from practice squad, you got to be up 3 games, right? So he goes in, meets Bill Polian, and Bill tells him, hey, I have an open door policy. If you ever have anything, right? So I try to explain to people now, that's like the most cliche line a GM can give somebody, right? That open door policy. What does that mean, right? Yeah. Welcome. Come on in, right? And Nate was the 53rd and a half guy of 53 guys on the team. I mean, he's barely holding on himself. And he decides one day to go in and tell Bill, my roommate in college was better than the centers on the Giants and that we're playing here in Indy. Will you give him a chance? And he had no idea that Bill was with the Panthers and had looked at me coming out of college. And Bill's synopsis of me was I was as round as I was tall, a very roly-poly looking man. And but he told him, he's like, man, I'll give him a shot. And that's honest to God. They call me in for a workout. I'm working for Electric Supply Company of North Carolina. And I'm scared to leave, to lose my job, to go try out for a team that I think has very little, if any, interest. And man, just an incredible turn of events. One, I don't know if you can see Nate, but he's number 94 up on my on the wall. And man, I owe the guy and miss him like crazy. But just a God moment all the way around, brother.
All right, so we need to go back to this Electric North Carolina Supply Company. Now, what exactly was the job that they empowered you to do before you decided to leave that and try for football?
All right, so first, Katie Kennedy was the Katie Kennedy Jr. was the owner of the company. He is a huge Duke University alum, and
so you were screwed from the get-go as a Chapel Hill guy.
Right, that's exactly right. So going to North Carolina, I was already the enemy, but he was great to me. He helped me. I was selling electrical equipment, and he was just kind of teaching me the business. And he had started over with two young guys, and we were both kind of pushing this organization. And man, I'm cutting my teeth in any business. I've been playing football my whole life, and Katie was very gracious. And when I actually asked him to go play, he kept paying me for like the first 2 or 3 months, when you're making just workout money for me and keeping me on in case it didn't work out. Just a class act all the way around. That's hard for me to say about a Dookie, but one that I hold in the highest regard for the way that he treated me.
Okay, so when was the moment, whether it was a practice or a preseason game, when you realized, man, I can play with these guys. I can do this.
So we were playing. I was playing against Ellis Johnson, who was a first-round draft pick out of the University of Florida, and
absolutely
a great pass rusher. And Howard Mudd, my offensive line coach, looks at me and goes, "Saturday, go block Ellis, and I want you to go play guard." And so I was like, "Man, this from a guy who's at first Howard thought I was a long snapper. He didn't even think I played offensive line. To hey, go block this guy." And so I go up and I put my hand in the dirt. And before I did, Howard looked at me and said, "Jump him and grab him and don't let go." He's like, "God gave you thumbs to grab stuff. You better do it." And I didn't know any better, right? And so the nickname for Ellis Johnson was the Matrix, because he could make all these crazy positions and lean back and swat your hands. And I jumped him 2 times in a row and got him and wired him up. And everybody, defense, offensive line, they were going crazy. My roommate, who was a Hobgood chick who got me in, was actually a defensive lineman. He was going crazy. And Ellis was like, "Come back, we're going to do it one more time." And I won that 3rd time in a row. And the confidence it gave me. And Howard looked at me, and Howard, you just got to know Mudd to know. I called him the mad scientist. He kind of looked back at me, gave me this kind of grin and was like, "You're going to be all right, kid," And from then on, at least I felt confident enough that I could make it happen. Who knows what was going to happen, but I was awfully fond of the way Mudd had treated me and given me an opportunity.
Listen, Mudd's one of the greatest to ever do it. So just to get that sort of papal dispensation from him had to be cool.
Hey, Trey, so let me take another quick one for Mudd. So this is because Mudd, we lost Mudd this year, but one of my great Mudd stories, I play my first year. Okay, so I'm playing guard, and I didn't start until late in the year, and so I'm rotating with Waverly Jackson. And Mudd, at the end of the year, the season's over, we lose to the Tennessee Titans, who goes on to lose the Super Bowl to the Rams, right? That's in my first year. And I called Mudd because my lease for my 1-bedroom rented apartment was up. And I said, "Hey, Howard, man, like, I really appreciate this year. I just need to know, if I don't have any money, like, should I continue my lease, or should I, just cut bait and you're kind of dummy?" And he let out this belly laugh, man, and laughed at me. He said, "You are a dumb son of a bitch." He's like, think that he goes, "Son, you're going to play the next 13 years. He's like, "You're not going anywhere." He goes, "I'm just going to work on you to get better." But he told that story to everybody because I literally I was so scared of losing my job. You know what I mean? And that man just put his arm. He's like, "Saturday, we're going to do this for a long time, man." And like you said, we lost him this year, but just an incredible human being.
That's phenomenal. So, okay, you were playing guard that first year. When did they say, "Hey, we want you to play center, and you're going to be taking snaps from one of the greatest to ever do it"?
Yeah. So after that first year, after that comedy scene with Mudd, about 2 months later, when we're doing our workouts, we came back in, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to let you and Larry Moore compete at center. I think it's the best place for you. I watched your college tape now." Again, he always made the joke. He said, "I thought you were a deep snapper, so I didn't even care about what you could play." He's like, but your body type, I want to move you inside, right?" And so he asked me what my comfort level. I was like, "Man, that's heaven for me." And then he looked at me and goes, and you never shut up, so you'll be good at it because all centers want to talk, right? And he's like, I've coached Mawai forever. Mawai won't shut up. Lewinberg wouldn't shut up, right? Tim Ruddy wouldn't shut up. He's like, so you'll fit right in with all the know-it-all centers I've coached, so we'll go ahead and let you rip. And so he's like, go take him with Manning. And, man, you just talk about a perfect fit with P and just the way he approached the game and our personalities, man, it just meshed really from the jump and just only got better year after year.
Well, that's the thing. I want to know that. How quickly did you know that, this Peyton thing? Because a lot of people would be like, whatever you want. You know what I mean? Do you? But it feels like you guys had a sort of combative shared relationship like from the first snap. How did that happen?
When I took the job, I felt like it was my job to make calls, set lines, do all those things. And I would look at him and say, hey, man, like, I want to know what you think. And because obviously, you steer the ship. But if it's my job to get everybody on the same page, I want to know so that I can make the call, feel confident about it. And I want to tell you what's going to be best for us, right? Because he had all the check with me's, right? From going to pass to run or run to pass. So he would ask me, hey, can you get that guy, right? Can you reach him by yourself, or can the guard get up to the level? And he wanted to know. And the one thing about Peyton Manning, if you've ever spent, he don't want any BS, bro. Like he ain't looking for you to lie, to blow smoke, to make him feel better. He wants to know the truth. And I think the best part of it is he just looked at me and goes, hey, man, don't ever lie to me. If you never lie to me, man, you don't got to be something you're not. Just be you. And I took it from there. And listen, it may have been my first or second starting practice at center. He threw a pass and the receiver dropped it. And I start screaming at the receiver. And I want to say it was an old veteran. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a rookie. It was like an old vet. And I'm screaming about catching the ball. And it was like the parting of the Red Sea. Like all the linemen backed away from me, and Peyton slid out, and Mud comes screaming at me, mother effing me from the sideline about, hey, you won't tell anybody how to do their job. And, he's cussing me out. I'm like, hey, should he have caught it? You know what I mean? I block. He's got to catch, right? And so I'm kind of going in. And when he walked away, man, he looked at me and goes, that's good stuff, bro. And, from then, we were ready, but I'm telling you, didn't nobody want to be in the foxhole with me, Wingo. Not one guy. They all left me until it was over. Then they were all like, good job. Good. You know what I mean? It was all afterwards. But hey, I said it.
I would have been behind you 100%. I just want you to know, I would have been right behind you 100% in that foxhole. So that leads us to one of the great NFL film things of all time, because you guys you and Peyton and Everett, you didn't mind chirping. And there was the Monday night game that you guys played against the Rams, the game in which Peyton and Marvin set the record for most touchdown passes thrown and caught by a tandem. You guys got into an unbelievable battle on the sidelines, and Peyton was mic'd up for the game. And it all was because you guys got down inside the 10-yard line, and all week long you had said you were going to do one thing, and Peyton checked into something completely different.
That's right. So we're inside the 5. And we knew the Rams were going to play like some sort of cover 4, right? Which basically means they're going to put their feet on the goal line and just try to stop all the receivers from scoring. You got to run against the look, right? And we get down there, and 3 times we check the play. And so I thought it was our offensive coordinator, Tom Moore, who checked. But it turns out it was me. So I come off the sideline, and I am ripping Tom Moore, man. I'm screaming at Tom. I'm like, this is the dumbest stuff. We talked about running the ball. We're doing this. And so I get to the sideline, and we all sit in the same spots, right? Like center, right guard, right tackle, left guard, right? So we all sit down together, and Mud looks at me, and he goes, it wasn't Moore. It wasn't Tom. And I was like, what? And about that time, I hear, here comes Chirpy Manning coming down. He's like a little chihuahua nipping at your heels, right? And he's yipping right now. He's like he ate his Wheaties, right? So he feels good about all the cereal boxes he's on. He'll know he's about to take one if he rolls up. So he and I are screaming at each other. I'm like, hey man, should we run it? Should we run it? And so he and I are going out. I tell people I lost my witness for about 15 minutes because I'm going at him. He's going at me. We are ripping each other, and when it was over, though, it was over. Like we go down, and to prove I'm right, we ran it in the next few times. We win the game, but we never went to the press. I had no idea that it was even mic'd up until post game, and I think the one thing I would say about is people don't realize, like, that happened in practice. Like he and I would go at it. If I didn't think what he was doing was right, like I felt like I had earned the right to speak up, and he appreciated that, right? I mean, and if he spoke to me that way, and it was never personal, you know what I mean? When we walked off the field, bro, my locker was right beside his, and we would talk, have fun. You know, it was never a personal thing. But people were like, I can't believe that you spoke to him. I was like, hey, dude, he's not deity, right? Like, I mean, the dude, I see him put his pants on, so I know, you know, I know he's human. We just got to get this thing right. So we always had that relationship, man. It's one that I've treasured forever and love going with him, bro. Ain't no doubt.
What was it like hearing everybody say, yeah, I mean, the Colts are good, but they're never going to win it all because they just don't have it?
Yeah, it's like a kick in the jump, right? Like you just get this feeling in your gut, man, that you know you can't explain the pain of what it really feels like. And I'll tell you the other part, man, is it was always pushed towards Peyton, right? We talk about all the time, but quarterbacks get way too much credit when they win and way too much credit when they lose. And so it really used to kind of piss me off that it always had some kind of story about Manning can't win this game, or, you know, whatever that thing was. And I just never appreciated it. I was like, hey, man, there are, you know, 21 other starters, and that's not to mention all the guys on special teams. None of us are getting it done. You know what I mean? If any of us are getting it done, we're all going to go through this and win some games. And but it was, and it's like there was always this shining light that no matter how good the regular season went, it was all the Colts, you know, when they get there, it's going to be, you know, they're not going to be able to turn it over. There'll be finesse, or Peyton won't play well, or the defense can't hold up. And so it was always a painful reminder and it was usually the Patriots who were knocking us out, or like you said, the Steelers. And the thing was those teams went on and won the Super Bowl. It wasn't like they sucked, man. It wasn't like we were, you know, we weren't losing to bad teams. We were losing to you know, dudes who made a lot of money and won a lot of games. But, you know, forget about that. It was always the story was always about Manning and not being able to win the big one.
All right, so when we come back, we'll fill our glasses and talk a little bit about finally getting over the hump and arguably the weirdest AFC Championship game anyone has ever seen, because we had fat guys scoring left and right in that. Stay with us. That's coming next. You know, here in the East Coast and quite frankly across the country, McDonald's just isn't this large global restaurant. It's a local one too. Much in the same way these Hall of Fame athletes that you see me talking to are also people that live and work in the communities and towns where they are. McDonald's are owned and operated by people that live in those communities. And when you eat at a McDonald's, you're supporting a local business. You might even be supporting your neighbor's business. And McDonald's franchises also care about the communities that they're in. That's why they give back to the local Ronald McDonald chapter houses, and why they help first responders, like when they gave hot, fresh meals to those out there fighting the devastation of Hurricane Laura. When you own a McDonald's, you are committed to serving the community where you do business. McDonald's, serving here. Now it's time for the Surprisingly Great Story, sponsored by State Farm. State Farm gets you surprisingly great rates. So when you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, back with my man Jeff Saturday. Our glasses are full, so let's tell some surprisingly great stories about the Colts team that finally won it all. And before we get to the playoffs, we have to address the game against the Jaguars in like week 15 or 14, 16, whatever. You guys got pumped, okay? I think they ran for 370 yards on you guys. Yes. And that was the last loss you guys suffered. You ended up being the 3 seed. But I remember Tony Dungy, your head coach at the time, saying, we can fix this. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, you're going to fix that. Yet somehow you guys did fix the run defense, and that really propelled you through the playoffs. So after that game, you know, every Monday you come in and you had like Tony's top 5 things that you checked off the board. And to your point, I think it was Jones, Drew, and Fred Taylor. I think they both pulled their hamstrings because they had run. So the only thing that stopped them was the goalpost, right? Like literally they were bumping the goalpost. You guys didn't. Stuff. It was, and here's the worst. The crazy part is we're sitting in the team meeting, and I think Tony's about to rip the defense up and go, hey, you know, you're not doing your job. You got to play better. No. Tony's all calm and goes, man, our alignment was just off. You know, we were 1/2 gap off here and 1/2. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, we're going to get freaking boat raced when we get in the play. Like, we are awful. You know what I mean? And when we're talking about like a 1/2 gap, they ran for dang near 4. That's like a college or a high school, right? Like that doesn't happen in the NFL. And so we get to play the Chiefs the first week. And they have, you know, a vaunted run game. You know,
good defense. And it was like, they were like, oh, this is the kryptonite for the Colts. And we came out, and I mean, our defense hit them in the freaking mouth, Trey. Like, I mean, dudes are late. You can hear the hits. I mean, we are popping guys. And I mean, I can literally remember thinking to myself, I was in awe of how well we played to completely shut down the entire run game. And for us offensively, we just had to do our part. Like just don't screw it up. You know what I mean? And I think after that game, when we walked in the locker room, I think everybody to a man realized if we, you know, that one half gap really meant something. You know what I mean? If we all just play our half gap differently or whatever it was that Dungy was giving us, we're going to be a heck of a football team. And, man, we got on a run. That first Chiefs game was just – it was a tone setter because of how well our defense truly played.
Well, yeah, that was when Larry Johnson was at the peak of his powers. So you shut them down at your place at the RCA Dome. Then you go on the road in the rain to play the Ravens and Jamal Lewis, who, by the way, was also not a terrible runner, and you shut them down too. Yeah,
you go from good to great, right? You go from a good sheet to a great Ravens team that they hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher, you know, I forget how many games. And like you said, you got Jamal, who is basically like the Derrick Henry of the day, right? Just a bruising, going to hit, you know, weighs as much as I do, except he's fast and athletic, the opposite of me, right? So he's trucking people, you know, on the – and, again, our defense and offensively, we ran it. Like, we were the first team to get over 100 yards. You know, we kicked 5 field goals, you know what I mean? So we didn't put it – but it was a dog fight, man, and just an incredible game. And you know what's the craziest part? The two things that came out of that game. We have a picture of the O-line that's up in my office. That's a lifer, and it's up in the stadium even to this day at Lucas Oil. And the other thing was the Ravens introduction was like a WWE event, dude. I mean, like Trevor Price, and they're all coming out in the smoke and all. And to this day, I tell people, probably the most excited I've ever been pregame, just because I'm watching this entertainment like none other, right? And they were unbelievable. They were a great defense. It just happened to be our night, man, and we ended up taking that victory. But just an incredible game all the way around.
That sets up the AFC Championship game that year. And what's really interesting, you guys were the 3 seed, but you ended up hosting the AFC Championship game because in the divisional round of the playoffs, the Patriots went on the road and knocked out the Chargers, who were the number 1 seed. You took care of Baltimore, which was the 2 seed. So all of a sudden, not only are you playing in the AFC title game, but you get home field advantage for the first time. The other 2 times you played them up in Foxborough.
That's right.
And that game was crazy because right before the half, Peyton throws a pick 6. That puts you guys down 18 points, 21-3.
Yep.
And I remember thinking to myself, all right, there's still time. If they can just kick a field goal before the half, they're in the game. And you guys get that. You get that field goal. Yep. And then in the second half, it just turns into the most ridiculous game I've ever seen. You scored a touchdown in that game on a fumble recovery. The Patriots had an offensive lineman, Logan Mankins, score on a fumble recovery. And Dan Klecko caught a 2-point conversion in that game. Fat guy touchdowns everywhere.
Oh, it was so much fun, dude. The guys who do all the work finally got to share in some glory, baby. Like, I mean, listen, I'm never going to be upset when a fat guy scores a TD. So it was, but to your point, just the craziest of game. And when you talked about right before half, I had given a speech the night before. And basically stole Herb Brooks, you know, the miracle on ice when we beat Russia in the hockey. I mean, in hockey, and I basically steal that speech, and it's our time. And I remember walking over after they have the pick 6, and Tony looking at all of us and going, "It's still our time. Do you still believe it's our time?" Like looking at us as we're walking over. And I'm not gonna lie, I gave the speech and I was like, "Dang, man, I don't think it's our time." You know? but he was like,
"Way to sell it, Jeff. Way to sell it."
You know what I mean? I was like, God, you know, I'm going to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, Tony had that profit thing going at the time. I was on the struggle bus. But he's like, man, go kick the field goal, and this whole thing shifts. And like you said, we kicked the field goal, and when we're in the locker room, he was talking about, men, they're right on the edge, right? Like, we've survived this storm. They can't play any better, and we can't play any worse, but they're beginning to fatigue. And he had seen it, right? We started running the ball well on them, kind of banging them around, doing those things. Big plays started to come down the field. And it was just one of those games where once we grabbed the momentum, there was no doubt. Like everybody, for whatever reason, we all unified around that. It's our time. We're going to go win this game. And we all believed it. And, dude, it just manifested in front of us. And when I tell you, it is the greatest game I've ever been a part of. My greatest victory, including Super Bowl. That game, coming back against your nemesis in the RCA Dome. I mean, literally grown men were bawling after we won that game, Trey. I mean, it was just such an atmosphere like I've never been around, and you just felt it. And when we all get together now, like that feeling doesn't change. It was just, man, just like I said, the greatest game I've ever been a part of.
Well, clearly, all the Indianapolis fans realize, hey, we finally beat the monster, right? The bully on the block, we finally took him down. All that's great. But now you got to go win a Super Bowl because, like, you still say that's the greatest game you've ever been a part of. But if you lose a Super Bowl, no one cares.
That's
okay?
Right.
So you told me this story once, and I want you to share with me as much as you can because obviously Peyton knew his legacy was on the line, right? He knew he needed to win a Super Bowl to be considered what he was, even without it, one of the all-time greats to ever do it. So you guys are having a team meeting, getting set to go down to Miami and do all this kind of stuff. And Peyton gets up there and starts talking to people, and you had to say, you need to check yourself here a little bit.
Yeah, so Manning gets up. So Bill gets up, and he kind of lays out, hey, he had been to a bunch of Super Bowls, so he kind of lays out what the week is going to look like. And then Manning gets up, and I think at the time, like, Manning didn't have kids, right? So
right.
Manning gets up, and he's like, this is a business trip. He's like, this all week, we're going to go down, and no, I don't want any wives on the floor. I don't want any kids on the floor. I don't want some kids playing beside my room and beating on my wall, the Thursday night before the Super Bowl. Right? He's like laying out all these, and our wives are in the meeting, right? So like my wife has got my hand. She's got like the freaking grip tight. Tarek, Glenn, and Maya are sitting across, and Maya's eyes are like this. And I could see Steve Champlin, who was Bill Polian's like right hand man, and Steve is going like this, like, don't raise hell, like let's not have a coup right here before. So Manning kind of said his deal or whatever, and I was like, hey man, like my kids are going to be, and Champlin, like, don't worry about it. We'll get everybody situated, everybody relax. But literally right before the whole thing's about to fold up, I mean, we got wives looking like, wait a minute, like we've contributed to this thing as well. And but to your point, like Manning had so much pressure, and once he became a dad, like this dude, he can't get his kids with him enough. You know what I mean? I get him all the time, but he's up there and he's laying the law down, and all of our wives are like, I'm going to be in the room with you. My kids, like mom and them babies, we coming down too. So it was a thing of beauty, dude. Just the things behind closed doors are just a thing of beauty looking back on them now.
Yeah, you need to check yourself for a minute, 18, because everybody's gonna be a part of this. Okay, so then you get down there, right? And it's terrible. Like that, people forget that was the worst weather Super Bowl game of all time. It poured the entire game, and right off the bat, frickin' Devin Hester takes it to the house. Okay, like literally the game starts the worst possible way for you guys. Was there any part of you that said, really? Really? We finally got here and we're doing this?
Bro, so the week leading up, Peyton is making me do wet ball drills, which means, we're in Indianapolis, right? So it's, all the doors. So it's freaking icy, snowy. It's crazy weather. We're dipping balls in 5-gallon buckets to get them wet to snap. So we're getting used to wet balls because he's like, man, in case it rains, down there, it's forecasting some rain. So we need to be ready and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, man, what does that mean? For me, the whole practice, I'm freaking soaking wet and cold and it's miserable. But we just did it, right? I was like, hey, man, this is what you want to do. We're going to go do it. So we did that leading up to the game. Like you said, it's pouring down rain. And Tony had said all week, we're going to challenge Devin. We're going to kick it to him. We believe we got the best special teams in the game. We're going to go stop. And so Peyton and I are standing side by side, and the ball gets kicked, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching it. I see him catch it. I see him beat the first guy, and I was like, oh, my God, he's going to the house. And takes it all the way. You're seeing all the flashes right from the kick all the way to him crossing the goal line. And Manning and I looked at each other and we're like, well, here we go, right? By the way, we didn't kick it to them the rest of the game. Thank God. We had common sense afterwards. Let's not let their best player do this to us, But that's the only hiccup that Dungy brought. He's like, we're going to kick him and challenge him. Not bad plan by us. So, but definitely discouraging. But we knew, you know what I mean? Like we felt we had beat the best team, being the Patriots. And as long as we played well, we had a shot. But I literally look at Manning being like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? Like, this is how we got to start this thing? But at that time, it's work time.
It certainly did. And I think people need to understand that game specifically, Super Bowl 41, what it meant for you guys and your reputation. Because not only did you beat the bully to get there, the Patriots, but, the story was with the Colts, they're a climate control team. They'll win indoors. You get them outside up in Foxborough in the snow. It can't happen. So you play a game in slop in Miami. You find a way to stop a pretty good running game. And, I love Peyton. We all know that. But they give the quarterback the award when they don't know who to give it to for the Super Bowl MVP. Dominique Rhodes, man, tore Chicago up. What did it mean for you to beat the Patriots, go outdoors in crappy weather, and run the ball to win a Super Bowl?
Oh, bro. You think about Urlacher, Briggs, you think about Tank John, like these dudes were stacked at defense, right? Like their whole claim to fame and their calling card was defense. Lovie Smith, right? The way they play, they're going to be physical. They're going to hit you in the mouth. And for us, like you named it, right? Finesse, indoor team, big plays. They're not going to be. And we rushed for over 190 yards. I'm telling you, man, we hit them boys in the mouth from the get-go. And we knew our plan was to go attack him. And Dommy Rhodes, man, first of all, he is the greatest teammate you can have. Like, you're always going to laugh. He loves the shine, right? He's from Texas, so he loves his laces to be different colors, his sleeves to be, he always wants to shine. And he showed up in the biggest moment, man. Undrafted guy, just like me, who had earned his way, and he freaking balled out. We got him a sprint draw. I mean, we probably got him 10 or 15 times. We just got at him and hit him right downhill. And Dommy would set those plays up. And to your point, that kid could not have played better. I mean, he just totally tore them up. And I think from everything they had worked on, guaranteed us running it down the throat was not their plan. You know what I mean? They had no idea that was going to be, our kind of game plan and our game and our attack. And we got after him, man. It was, from an offensive lineman's perspective, it's what you dream about, man. Like when I beat when we beat the Patriots, we ran all over them. When we beat them, we ran all over them. And, from the Bears, Patriots, two teams that everybody knew defensively were led that way, and just incredible moments for us as an offensive line.
So that's as good as it can be, right? Winning the Super Bowl that way for the team, the label that you guys had. Then 3 years later, you guys start the year 13-0, and Bill Polian pulls the starters at half in that game against the Jets.
Oh.
And first of all, the irony is you ended up having to play the Jets in the AFC Championship game because of that. How angry were people that you guys didn't go for the players that you guys didn't go for the undefeated season?
Oh, I was pissed, bro. I'm still pissed. I mean, I love Billy. He gave me a job, so you can't be that upset with. I'm still pissed, right? Very, very few times in your life do you have the chance to do something that special, right? Where you can truly run the table. And we had the team to do it, right? We're up on the Jets, at half, and if we keep everybody in, we're going to get them. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. We run through this whole thing. We had Buffalo, I think, the next week, and our team as a whole, that's probably the best team that we had, and we were just not going to be denied. And I felt so disappointed and kind of robbed of an opportunity for greatness. Like, even when the Patriots lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants, that undefeated run, it's just something special. And to not go for it based on what ifs, you know what I mean? And I get it. That's why general managers get paid and players get paid. But, man, from a player perspective, it's a gut punch, man, because I truly to this day believe we could have run that whole table. Who knows, in the Super Bowl again, we lost it. We should have beaten them. That, to me, it was probably the two most disappointing losses of my career. The Jets then, just because they're undefeated, not because we got beat, because I was one of the only, the offensive line got left in. All the good players
Right. You don't get that blow. Yeah.
We don't get that rest, right? Like, so all of that kind of culminated into the two most painful losses I think I was a part of.
So you get back and go to the Super Bowl, right? And you guys are rolling against the Saints early. You guys are rolling. And then there's a third down play.
Yep.
And they throw the ball to the French waiter, Pierre Garçon.
Oh.
And he's so wide open, I think he scores on that play.
Yes.
And he drops the ball. And instead of going up 20-3, by a bunch, somehow everything changes. You guys try to run out the clock at the end of the first half with a fullback. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then arguably the greatest play of all time follows, the onside kick to start the second half. How much of a gut punch was that?
Oh, brutal, man. Brutal. I mean, like you said, Pierre, man, dude's got incredible hands. I mean, and just drops it. I mean, literally just drop. And you felt the momentum shift. I still felt like coming out of halftime, again, we're the better team, right? We're going to go make this happen, and, we're going to make plays. And I can remember being ready to go run back on because they're kicking off, obviously, at half. And it just shows you, like, I had this argument with Brunell and Breeze, talking about who the best team was. I was like, the best team does an onside kick, bro. Like you're onside for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, if we're going to be real about coaching and winning games, like, I've coached, but, you don't try those things unless you feel like you need to steal a drive. But Peyton making that decision to kick it, and then with Hank Basket and I mean, if you knew how deflating watching the second half play out as a player I literally been watching us just get beat by a team who I know that we're better than. And that sounds salty now, but believe me, it didn't keep me up at night. I'm just being real about where we were. Watching Porter take the interception back for 6 and just thinking to myself, what a wasted opportunity. And as a player, you always feel like next year we'll be back, right? We got a great team. We got a great nucleus. But, I mean, the pain that you go through, it's just – I can't tell you how disheartening it is and how, like my kids make fun of me because I called it my loser ring, right? The AFC Championship ring that we still won. And they're like, how could you call that thing a lit? I'm like, because when you don't win the Super Bowl, bro, there's no points for second place, right? And so it was a painful one for us because I honestly, it's a missed opportunity. It wasn't. Had I felt like they were better than us, hey man, you give it your best ride. They play better than you, but we just made so many uncharacteristic mistakes, like you said, running it out with a fullback, like things we never did. Yeah. We did, and it cost you.
All right. So when it's all said and done, what's a stronger emotion? The high of winning it or the low of losing it?
Oh, man. Probably the low of losing it.
Yeah.
Because I think it lasts longer, right? The high is more exciting, but you got to go do it. The loss just seems permanent. The win feels temporary. It's a great feeling, but you're so competitive. You're going to go, that loss just feels such a permanent, just a brutal thing to deal with the way that we did it. And again, man, it's one obviously that I'm not quite over.
I'm not picking up on that at all. Just so you know, I wasn't getting that vibe until you told me.
That's right.
All right. So I guess we have to leave it with this one. Obviously, Peyton, you have the relationship with him. You were there for so long, but you also played with Aaron Rodgers. Whose hands were more supple on your butt cheeks, Peyton or Aaron Rodgers?
Got to be Peyton, man. 13 years of just the –
He knew just hit the right spot. He just knew where to go, right?
That silk, man, just the silk all the way around.
Knowing us, that seems like a perfect way to end it. Brother, you are the best, my friend. Cheers to you, and don't be a stranger, all right, man?
Appreciate you, brother. Great talking with you.
Thanks to Maker's Mark. Remember to pour yourself into everything you do and reach for a bourbon that's made with that personal touch. In fact, why don't we do this? Let's raise a toast right now. And remember, Maker's Mark crafts their bourbon carefully. All they ask is that you enjoy it the same way.